Imagine a world teetering on the edge of collapse, where the bombs don't just fall on soldiers but on homes, schools, and hospitals. World War II is often told through the lens of generals, tanks, and battle maps. But behind every strategy, every invasion, every occupation, there were millions of women whose lives were irreversibly changed. German women, in particular, found themselves caught between ideology, necessity, and survival. Their story is one of courage, endurance, and moral complexity, and it is often overlooked. Stay with us, because what you are about to hear is not in textbooks. Before the war, Nazi ideology dictated the life of women: home, children, and service to the state. Career ambitions were discouraged, education was limited. Motherhood was glorified as the highest duty. Women earned medals for producing multiple children, while organizations like the National Socialist Women's League reinforced the vision of women as caretakers of the future of the nation. But even in these early years, some women quietly pushed boundaries: teachers who kept educating girls in science and literature, nurses preparing for work beyond the home, young women secretly involved in local volunteer projects that hinted at capacities far beyond domestic life. When the war began, the first months seemed to confirm the ideal: men at the front, women at home. Yet, as the conflict stretched across Europe, the reality quickly diverged from ideology. By 1941, with the invasion of the Soviet Union, Germany faced a total war of unprecedented scale. Factories, farms, hospitals, and transportation systems required labor that women were suddenly forced to provide. In cities like Hamburg, Berlin, and Cologne, women operated machines for the Luftwaffe, filled artillery shells, and maintained supply chains under dangerous conditions. Some women were as young as 16, balancing fear and fatigue while performing tasks crucial to the war effort. In rural areas, the shift was equally dramatic. With men absent, women plowed fields, repaired tractors, coordinated labor of seasonal workers and prisoners, and ensured food reached the cities. Their days were long, often beginning before dawn and ending after dark, with minimal rest or proper nutrition. Letters from the time describe exhaustion, frostbite, and the emotional strain of keeping children alive while supervising laborers from occupied territories. Yet, despite this hardship, they persevered. Women also entered military support roles. They operated telephones, radios, and decoding machines, performed critical calculations for anti-aircraft defenses, and served as nurses under fire. These tasks were not symbolic, they were essential. Some women stationed near the front lines in East Prussia or near Stalingrad witnessed horrors beyond comprehension: bombed villages, maimed soldiers, and civilians caught in crossfire. In some cases, they were forced to make life and death decisions: whom to treat first, which families to evacuate, how to ration scarce medicine. By 1944, Allied bombings had made survival in cities almost unimaginable. Women became organizers, guiding children and neighbors to shelters, arranging emergency food distribution, and coordinating housing for displaced families. Many became refugees themselves, traveling long distances in winter with children and elderly relatives. One survivor recounted fleeing Breslau with her mother and younger siblings, walking for days through bombed-out roads with no food, water, or clear destination, only the hope of survival. Stories like hers, multiplied thousands of times, illustrate the resilience required to endure these years. The collapse of Germany in 1945 placed women at the center of both crisis and recovery. Men were dead, missing, or captured. Cities lay in ruins. Disease and hunger were rampant. Yet women cleared streets, salvaged materials, cared for families, and kept communities functioning. The Trümmerfrauen of urban centers became iconic, lifting rubble, clearing streets, salvaging usable materials for reconstruction. In rural areas, women ensured that food production continued despite devastated infrastructure. Some organized informal schooling for displaced children, while others coordinated medical care with limited supplies. Women became the de facto leaders of the shattered nation. The post-war period continued to demand extraordinary resilience. Germany was divided into occupation zones, requiring women to interact with Allied authorities, navigate rationing systems, and manage traumatized communities. Many assumed roles in administration, education, and civil reconstruction. Their technical skills, organizational experience, and leadership capacity proved essential in stabilizing society. In Berlin, for instance, women coordinated makeshift hospitals, rebuilt municipal offices, and re-established essential utilities under conditions of near-total destruction. Their work ensured that cities could slowly begin to function, even when the nation's economy and infrastructure lay in ruins. Psychologically, the war left deep scars. Loss, trauma, and moral compromise were daily realities. Many women lost husbands, children, or siblings. Others had to navigate ethical dilemmas, interacting with forced laborers, complying with military demands, or making impossible choices to save lives. Diaries and memoirs from the period reveal sleepless nights, anxiety and guilt, alongside moments of extraordinary courage, women hiding children from bombings, providing comfort to the dying, or organizing escape routes for entire families. Their endurance was not abstract. It was lived moment by moment, often under extreme threat. Economically and socially, women's contributions were foundational. They maintained production lines, managed logistics, and cared for communities. Post-war, they applied these skills to rebuilding schools, hospitals, and administrative offices. Their leadership helped stabilize society, challenge traditional gender roles, and redefine expectations for women in post-war Germany. Scholars today recognize that without the sustained labor and initiative of women, recovery would have been far slower and more chaotic. The moral complexity of their lives cannot be overstated. While some were complicit in systems of forced labor or military logistics, many acted purely to save lives and preserve families. Their experiences force reflection on human agency under authoritarian systems, the balance of survival and morality, and the resilience required to endure under extreme conditions. Today, the story of German women in World War II reminds us that war is not only fought on battlefields. It is lived in homes, factories, hospitals, and streets. It is endured in exhaustion, fear, moral compromise, and quiet heroism. Women sustained life during 6 years of unimaginable hardship, rebuilt their country from rubble, and redefined what it meant to survive. Their legacy is not only historical, it is a lesson in endurance, courage, and the quiet strength of ordinary people facing extraordinary circumstances. As we watch archival footage or read letters from these women, we see not only survival but determination, ingenuity, and the capacity for moral judgment in the most constrained conditions imaginable. So, next time we study strategy, battles, or generals, remember those who kept society alive. German women during World War II exemplify the power of resilience, endurance, and quiet heroism. They teach us that history is not only shaped by victories and defeats, but also by the relentless efforts of ordinary people to survive, rebuild, and preserve humanity in the darkest of times. Their story endures not only as history, but as a reminder of the extraordinary capacities that exist within ordinary lives.